It makes me think of a story when we first started our first program in Aceh in Indonesia after the tsunami. I started Build Change a few months before the tsunami, but then when it happened, it made so much sense for us to work there. And I was out in the field every day. We were working directly with homeowners. We use a homeowner-driven approach where the homeowners make the decisions about materials and architecture and are with us all the way along. Very much a decision equity approach rather than a sweat equity approach. But when we finished our first 11 houses, I was very earnest about doing an exit survey. Like Nigel said, I was doing my fancy work around metrics, and I went out with my clipboard and was interviewing every family. And one of the homeowners, a mother of 3 kids, she basically just cut through all my questions and said, now I can sleep at night. And that really had an impact on me because poor quality housing regularly leads to people not being able to sleep. So I can sacrifice a few hours of my sleep tonight for this such important issue, right? Everything from leaky roofs to lack of security to fear of earthquakes and typhoons and other things, especially negative effect on women. Okay, so Build Change has been in business for 18 years. We are a social innovator. We save lives and reduce losses before and after disasters like earthquakes and typhoons through resilient housing. We've been working in 24 countries, and so far we've made over 200,000 buildings safer, which translates to about 1 million people living in safer, more disaster resilient, better buildings. We have just recently released the Build Change Guide to Resilient Housing. This is last year. I've just put a link in the chat, this book here. If you want me to send you a hard copy, I would be happy to do that. But it outlines Build Change's approach. It's very operational in terms of what needs to be done to implement these programs on the ground, very much in a participatory approach, but looking at the changes that are needed both from the bottom up directly with homeowners, but also from the top down in terms of changing regulations and making access to financing available. So I love what you laid out here. I think the goals of the Roof Over Our Heads, our Over Our Heads campaign are very similar to what Build Change does. The way you've laid out finance, design, construction, and governance, these are the key elements that are essential for resilient housing to be implemented at scale. We have a very similar theory of change. We call it people and policy, money and technology, or PMT, but very much aligned with what you've laid out. So all of these elements need to be there in order for resilient housing, affordable, accessible housing to be there for everyone. Just to give you a few quick examples of what Build Change does on the ground. We have a large-scale program in Colombia that's reached over 100,000 people so far in partnership with Colombian government at multiple levels, 100,000 buildings, I should say. And in that, we have done everything from actually strengthen existing buildings to figure out how it works and what technologies are needed and construction materials and all those sorts of things, to influencing the building permit process. We found that folks had a difficult time getting a building permit to do a structural retrofit, to everything as to other things like combining retrofits for structural improvement with other home improvements. In our case, when we started out working on earthquakes, we realized we can't just limit the intervention to that. We need to look at the holistic house, resistant to earthquakes, hurricanes, as well as fixing leaky roofs, making sure the home is secure from break-ins, and also in many cases, a place of livelihood and wealth creation. So Colombia, we have several partnerships at multiple levels with homeowners themselves up through national government, influencing the social housing policy throughout the country. This program works off a government subsidy. We also have a parallel program in the Philippines where the government subsidy is not yet available for home improvement for existing housing. So we've been working with microfinance lenders there to make a loan product available for folks to strengthen their homes to withstand disasters. And as I said before, as well as fixing leaky roofs, improving kitchens and toilets, expanding buildings for income generation and long-term wealth creation, and that sort of thing. So build change doesn't build buildings for people, but we basically create an ecosystem in which disaster resilient construction becomes the norm, doing everything from facilitating access to finance to implementing technology solutions that reach more homeowners with disaster resilient construction options, to supporting governments to develop building codes and improve permitting offices and streamline that process. So from our view, the technology to improve housing is available. This is more of a process issue. It's a policy issue. It's a financing issue. We often say housing is a process, not a product. The building materials are there. The technologies are there. We've got to overcome these policy bottlenecks, facilitate access to financing, and always put people at the center, enable them to make decisions about materials and architecture and what's done with their home, and so that they can indeed sleep at night. We have launched the Climate Resilient Housing Initiative, a parallel initiative within the Race to Resilience. So we're really looking forward to integrating these two initiatives together, bringing, again, like you said, Sheila, a very unique and diverse group of stakeholders together, because I think that's what's needed to get this done, from banks to philanthropists, to homeowners themselves, to policymakers, to implementing agencies. I think we all need to get together on this to really make it scale and work in a very large way. So thanks very much for inviting me to join. And we're really excited to be part of this. Yeah, happy to continue the discussion.